Welcome to The Explainer. So, what do you think a 2,000-year-old Roman pot has in common with the quantum computer of tomorrow? Well, it turns out they share a secret, a story about the hidden world that exists inside everything we touch. Our story starts not in some high-tech lab, but buried in the ash-covered ruins of a Roman villa at Civita Juliana, a place literally frozen in time when Mount Vesuvius erupted. And deep inside that villa, they found this one small, humble space. It was like a perfect snapshot of everyday life, a room they ended up calling the Room of the Slaves. In that room, every single thing they found had a story to tell. You know, the wooden furniture, the clay pots, the simple metal tools. Each one was like its own little time capsule, holding the secrets of how it was made and how it was used. And that gets you thinking, right? What if that ancient pottery and, say, the smartphone in your pocket are actually telling the exact same story? Well, it turns out they are. They share this fundamental secret about how they're built, right from the inside out. Okay, so let's really dive into this. To get a handle on this secret, we don't even need some fancy gadget. We can start with something you've probably touched 1,000 times without a second thought. Think about a plain old brass doorknob. To us, it's just one solid thing, right? It looks and feels smooth, totally uniform. But that's just the surface story. What's really going on inside? If we could zoom way, way in, we'd see the doorknob isn't one solid piece at all. It's actually this bustling city of microscopic crystals, what scientists call grains. Every single grain is a perfectly organized structure of atoms, all packed together. And this internal landscape, that's the key. The size of those grains, the way they all fit together, even the tiny little flaws between them, that's what decides if the doorknob is going to be strong or brittle or easy to polish. So now, let's go even deeper. Let's zoom in past the grains and ask the big question. What's the fundamental force, the actual glue that's holding all those individual atoms together? It all starts right here with the basic building block of, well, everything. You've got that tiny nucleus in the middle, and then you have those electrons whizzing around it. The real magic? It all happens with those electrons on the outside. Yeah, those outer electrons are what let atoms connect with each other, forming what we call atomic bonds. And the specific kind of bond they make is what determines almost everything about a material. If it will conduct electricity, if it melts easily, or if it will shatter into a million pieces when you drop it. Okay, so our first type of atomic glue is the ionic bond. You can just think of this as the giver and the taker. One atom, like sodium, gives an electron away, and another one, like chlorine, is more than happy to take it. This creates this really powerful, almost magnetic attraction that locks them together, forming things like hard, brittle table salt. Next up, we've got the covalent bond. Now here, instead of giving and taking, these atoms cooperate. They actually share their electrons, and this creates an incredibly strong and really stable connection. This is the bond that makes diamonds the hardest natural stuff on the planet. And then you have the metallic bond, which is just really cool. All the metal atoms basically pool their outer electrons together into this kind of free-flowing sea that moves all around. And that mobile sea of electrons, that is exactly why metals are so great at conducting heat and electricity, and why you can bend and shape them without them snapping. So there you go, the giver and taker, the sharers and the sea of electrons. If you can get your head around these three main ways that atoms connect, you basically hold the key to understanding why a diamond is so different from a copper wire, and why a salt crystal is different from both of them. Okay, so now that we've peeked at the atomic glue, let's zoom back out. Because once we humans figured out these rules, we didn't just observe them. Oh no, we started using them to engineer completely new materials, and really to build the entire modern world. I mean, just by learning how to string molecules into these long chains with covalent bonds, we kicked off the polymer revolution. Plastics completely changed our daily lives, and now we're even making conductive plastics. Think about it. Flexible, rollable electronics could be right around the corner. And our level of control has become just unbelievably precise. For example, a crystal of pure silicon is actually kind of useless for modern electronics. So what do? We intentionally introduce tiny defects. We sprinkle in a few phosphorus atoms to tweak its electrical properties and create the semiconductors that power every single computer chip. This whole journey of control leads us here, to quantum dots. These are semiconductor crystals that are so mind-bogglingly small,
We're talking just a few nanometers wide, that they work at the level of a single electron. If you change their size, you literally change the color of light they give off. This is opening the door to next-gen displays, lasers, and even quantum computing.
And this right here, this is what that control looks like in action. It's called dendritic crystal growth. It's a fancy term, but it basically means we can grow crystals like a tree, branch by branch. We're getting to the point where we can build materials atom by atom, guiding them into the exact shapes and structures we need for the future. So, from the hidden grains in an ancient Roman pot to the quantum dots in a futuristic laser, the story of materials is really a journey from the surface we can see all the way down to the atomic bonds that hold it together, and then all the way back out again. And that leaves us with this one huge, tantalizing question. If a material's inner structure is what defines it, what will we build when we can finally design any structure we can imagine?